This is a story of forbidden love. A story we all know and adore. A story of one man, handsome, sophisticated, and his passion for a gerbil. This was a love that neither you nor I could understand. A love beyond boundaries. A love that resulted in a humiliating trip to the emergency room. As amusing as it is to imagine a Hollywood millionaire spread eagle on a medical gurney whilst he has the love of his life extracted from his hole, this particular story is more made up than that one Prince Andrew told about being scared sweatless in the Falklands. You've got to give Richard Gere some credit here. The persistence of this depraved rumour might have resulted in lesser men climbing into a bubble bath filled with electrical appliances. And whilst the fabricated story about Richard Gere's bestial lust for a household pet is relatively harmless in the grand scheme of things, fake news from the right source can be absolutely devastating.
We have a problem with the spring breakdown piece. Just got a letter from David Keane. He ran the CPAC conference. He's made...
Are you mad at me?
Set in 1998, Shattered Glass tells the true story of Stephen Glass. Everything he writes is applauded, and everyone is so bewitched he thinks he can write down any old shit and get away with it. When one of his stories is flagged by a rival journalist for possibly containing false information, Stephen's boss is forced to act and everything begins to unravel, culminating in one of the biggest scandals in the history of US journalism. Released in 2003, Shattered Glass was to be Hayden Christiansen's second major role after Attack of the Clones, a film that was as warmly received as a herpes diagnosis. Despite critical plaudits, Shattered Glass bombed harder than Martin McGuinness. What's even more surprising is that almost 2 decades later, this film is still relatively obscure despite comparisons with the likes of All the President's Men. It's as good a movie about journalism that you could ever hope to see. But what makes it such a great watch? This may come as a bit of a surprise to you, but it turns out Hayden Christiansen is actually a pretty good actor.
You're a liar.
He's genuinely outstanding in the central role. Who would have thought he could play a slimy, childish, aggressive, pathological... Sorry, wrong movie. Who would have thought he could play a slimy, childish, aggressive, pathological, disingenuous and manipulative weirdo? Everyone slaughtered Christiansen after the Star Wars prequels, even though he had zero control over how the movie turned out. Do you think actors like having to say things like this?
If Master Obi-Wan caught me doing this, he'd be very grumpy.
Or this?
My powers have doubled since the last time we met, Count.
Or this?
General Grievous, you're shorter than I expected.
Do you think he was happy about participating in the creepiest love story ever written?
Please don't look at me like that.
Why not?
It makes me feel uncomfortable.
She covered the cameras. I don't think she liked me watching her.
I killed them. I killed them all. I hate them!
I love you!
Liar!
You're so beautiful.
It's only because I'm so in love.
Back in the early noughties, every young actor on the planet would have willingly waterboarded their own grandmother to get a shot at playing the young Darth Vader. Nobody would disagree that it was the most coveted role in movie history.
Guess I'll just have to trust you.
I thought my jokes were bad.
Shocking.
Okay, so maybe it wasn't the most coveted, but it's got to be up there. Christiansen beat thousands of other actors to get the part. Do you think he landed one of the most sought-after jobs in the world by being completely incompetent? He's not a Tory Prime Minister. Christiansen is good, and in Shattered Glass, he's great, which is illustrated in his acting choices, playing Stephen Glass like a child trying to manipulate a parent.
Are you mad at me?
I told you, I do not respond to "Are you mad at me?" I'm not your kindergarten teacher.
Every time he feels the situation is turning against him, or that he might be caught out in a lie, he immediately tries to regain control by eliciting sympathy.
Did I do something wrong? Are you mad at me?
No, I just need the phone numbers.
I really don't like the way you're treating me, Chuck. It's like you won't even talk to me.
This is the place.
Yes. I didn't do anything wrong, okay?
But I can't be by myself right now. Okay, I'm afraid of what I'm gonna do.
The sad eyes, the desperate need for attention. Anyone who has kids knows this trick and how exhausting it can be. They try to wear you down, and it works. Christiansen could have gone a different way and played Glass as an outraged adult, indignant and aggressive at every accusation, but then we wouldn't have got the parent-child dynamic from the supporting cast. You've got the disciplining father.
And they're gonna check them!
I didn't do anything wrong, Chuck!
I really wish you'd stop saying that!
The mollycoddling mother.
I want him in here, Caitlin.
He's too scared to come in here. He thinks you want to destroy him.
And Mum and Dad inevitably fighting over what they should do.
Now, if you want to make this about Mike, make it about Mike. I don't give a shit. You can resent me, you can hate me, but come Monday morning, we're all gonna have to answer for what we let happen here.
Stephen Glass is a master manipulator, and as dirty as it'll make you feel to hear this, we have Christiansen's performance to thank for the sale.
Are you okay?
I'm fine. I just threw up in my mouth a little bit.
It's probably not escaped anyone's attention that Hollywood enjoys a bit of historical licence. Salieri did not murder Mozart. Marcus Aurelius was not smothered by his son. And Leonardo DiCaprio definitely would have fit on that door. And whilst there's nothing wrong with making changes for dramatic effect, that doesn't mean it's okay to do whatever you want. This is what I like to call
the truth and the truth.
There's a big difference between taking historical liberties when your movie has no bearing on modern life, but it's an entirely different thing when it actually affects real people. By the time Angela's Ashes was released in 1999, the events of the Frank McCourt book on which the film was based had already been widely criticised for containing over 100 fabricated and erroneous anecdotes. But that didn't stop the studio from making it anyway, portraying the Irish working class as little more than pond-dwelling peasantry.
There's some lovely filth down here!
The irony, of course, is that Angela's Ashes was published around the same time the events of Shattered Glass were actually taking place. But while Stephen Glass's career was ruined because he fabricated stories for profit, Frank McCourt was awarded with a Pulitzer Prize. By all accounts, Shattered Glass appears to be a very accurate portrayal of the New Republic scandal, and for me that might be the most important aspect of the movie. It's about a journalist who tells lies in exchange for success, and the unwillingness of other professionals to participate or excuse it. The underlying message being that in journalism, the truth is everything. Therefore, it stands to reason that the film on which the story is based has to reflect that message by being as authentic as possible. The movie industry has enormous power over the hearts and minds of the general public. When they lie or twist facts for money, it can have major real-world consequences. Thankfully though, Hollywood has always taken that responsibility very seriously.
We are laughing!
Director Billy Ray understood the importance of accuracy when telling the Stephen Glass story, and in this way, he bucks the Hollywood trend. Every now and then art manages to predict the future. Jules Verne's novel From the Earth to the Moon foresaw the moon landings. Caravaggio's painting of Narcissus foreshadowed the rise of the social media selfie. And the pop song Material Girl successfully predicted that Madonna would turn into a bitter, lonely old skank.
You're old, I'm not.
Shattered Glass was a movie with a warning to the established news media. If you knowingly publish things that are untrue, the public will turn their back on you. 20 years on, that warning has been ignored, and now YouTube vloggers are getting bigger viewing figures on election night than CNN. Regardless of what you think of alternative media, its growing popularity over legacy news is absolutely damning, especially when you consider that the wounds are self-inflicted.
You're saying that women aren't intelligent enough to run these top companies?
No. That's not to say alternative media is a bastion of level-headed impartiality.
I don't like them putting chemicals in the water that turn the friggin' frogs gay!
But at least it's transparent. Stephen Glass thrived on the trust the public instinctively placed in his research because he was meant to be a proper journalist. This movie had something important to say. Maybe if it had been a hit, that message might have made a difference. "2003 was not the year for true life movies. Now maybe that's because people were sick of real life, and maybe they just wanted a little escapism.
Oh, he lives, hey dude!
But for anyone who was around back then, you'll remember that every news channel and newspaper was saturated with stories about the war on terror. If your life's been dominated by these two, going to watch a movie about the news would be a bit like a gynaecologist sitting down and watch a porn film. At some point you realise you're tired of looking at Attack of the Clones was released the year before Shattered Glass, and you've got to be honest, that can't have helped the cause. Director Billy Ray probably thought he'd won the lottery when he snagged the young Darth Vader to star in his little indie movie. But when Attack of the Clones landed, he must have felt like a kid opening a present on Christmas Day, only to discover it was underwear that someone else had already soiled.
What have I done?
Shattered Glass is a story more relevant than ever. With legacy media in free fall and the age of alternative facts in full swing, I'm not sure Stephen Glass would even have been fired if the New Republic scandal happened today. With the ever-increasing need to compete with clickbait articles, it honestly wouldn't surprise me if BBC News ended up reporting that Marilyn Manson was in the Wonder Years and Jamie Lee Curtis used to have balls. Today we're in the exact place this movie warned about. People are turning away from traditional news outlets in their droves because they don't believe a word they're being told by the media. Which I suppose means you really can't believe a word I'm telling you either. And maybe I can't believe a word I'm telling myself.
Marge, I'm confused. Is this a happy ending or a sad ending?
It's an ending, that's enough.